This is Tyron coming towards the end of his competitive career and stepping in there with ego, with anger, against a young kid that's got some experience and has all the belief in the world.
And when he gets in with a proper hardcore boxer who wants to do damage, or a hardcore MMA man who wants to do damage, Jake Paul's history.
Tyron Woodley, legendary fighter, MMA, that can all be tainted dramatically if he becomes a meme after this fight.
Welcome to The Debate on BT Sport, where today we will be talking about Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley. It's a divisive event. It has everybody talking. It brings the worlds of boxing, MMA and entertainment together, and we'll be talking about that today with, I think, three guests representing those worlds quite nicely. John Fury, a man who's forgotten more about boxing than any of us will ever know. How are you, John?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
You're very welcome, you're very welcome. Dan Hardy, an MMA guru. How are you?
I'm all good, thank you.
And VIddal Riley, welcome to BT Sport. How are you?
Good, man, I'm always good.
So, VIddal, I'm gonna turn to you, because obviously you've been in this world of the YouTube boxing more than I would say any of the rest of us have. You've experienced it firsthand. How did we get here?
Whew. Well, for me, it was it's been a journey as a coach in that industry and in that community, seeing how Jake's progressed from fighting on purely YouTube shows to then transitioning over to the professional world, boxing world. And I guess it's all off the back of KSI and Logan having their fight on a professional show, headlining a show. They had like world champions on the undercard, as we know. And then from there, that's when the world said, we can get in on this and we can make more of these events. Why does it have to end here? And Jake was one of the faces who started that second wave, I would say, of the YouTube boxing or influence or whatever you want to call it, getting involved. And now it's got to a point where he's fighting actual fighters. And that is what is separating him from the rest at the moment. All the shows before that was YouTuber versus YouTuber. He said, no, I want to fight actual fighters. He hasn't fought an actual boxer yet, but he's fighting fighters. And that's exciting because we want to see how far you can go and who's going to stop that train.
I mentioned in the intro there, it's divisive, and these events are, it's indisputable. Everybody has an opinion on them. Do you get the impression that with this fight, as these things progress, there's less and less cynicism and more just kind of natural interest?
I think the more work that he puts in, the more impressive he looks, and the higher caliber of his opponent, if that keeps raising, people can't keep that stigma on him. You know, it's kind of, because then you just look like a hater. You don't want to be a hater. No one likes a hater. You know, just let him do what he's doing. And if his opponents have improved every time, that's something that I like to look at. He started off NBA player, MMA fighter, another MMA fighter. But this guy, I would say, is better with the hands, starting off, because Ben Askren, someone that I've spoken to, interviewed myself, we know he's a great wrestler, but the hands has never been his thing. Tyron has shown power in the octagon, which is very interesting because it's all about the hands on August 29th.
Let's talk about Tyron. Dan, coming from your world, like VIddal mentioned there, Ben Askren was never a man with his hands. Tyron, far more capable and a genuine, credible opponent here, do you think?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, Tyron Woodley is a puncher. We know this. We've seen it several times in the octagon. Obviously, 4-ounce gloves and boxing gloves are different, but if he lands with that kind of force, he's going to hurt somebody. And what we have to do with MMA fighters is we have to break them down into, what percentage of their skill sets take up. I mean, we talk about Ben Askren, way more than 50% of his skill set is wrestling. Tyron Woodley's less than 50% a grappler, I would say now. He's far more a striker than anything else. And he's got hand speed, he's got power, he's in great shape, especially for his age. And he's going to look at Jake Paul and see opportunities to find his ways around those punches. Jake Paul's, he's had 3 fights. We can't discount where he is based on where he's from. But he's still very much at the beginning of his career. Like, Tyron's had a lot of fights at high levels, and he's knocked out a lot of good guys already.
4 losses, though, Tyron, in his last 4 fights. Do you get the impression that this is a payday for him, or has it become something that the MMA world needs him to do well in?
I think there is a responsibility on his shoulders. Obviously, people in the MMA world didn't expect too much of Ben Askren. We didn't expect too much from his striking in MMA. But Tyron Woodley, if you face him, the most likely situation is that he's going to catch you at least one time and put you on the canvas. I think there's excitement because we feel like, there's a potential for Tyron Woodley in his pro boxing debut to be able to get a win over Jake Paul. And you know, he's a polarizing character. There are a lot of people that want to see him get put down. But he's got more boxing experience than Tyron Woodley. I don't think it's an easy fight for Tyron at all. We have to remember, you know, those losses at the end of his career in the UFC, he was always fighting top level. You know, he's not working back down the rankings. He went out on top facing the best. This is an entirely different prospect and not nearly as challenging as far as toughness and skills, I would say.
John Fury, you don't play boxing. An expression I imagine you've said a number of times. When you first saw these YouTube influencer boxing events, what were your first thoughts?
They're bringing a lot to the boxing game, aren't they? New audiences, new eyes. Everything Jake Paul's doing at the minute, like these two gentlemen said, is bringing a lot of entertainment to people's living rooms. But the crossover, can it actually happen? I don't think it can. Because it's two different things, isn't it? And what I've seen, because we've been sparring MMA guys for this up-and-coming fight with Tommy, as you know, and their approach is awkward. That's what they bring to the table. It's always looking to take people down. They think they're going for the legs, and they get carried away because they revert to type under pressure. And I've seen it in sparring with Tommy. And you know, when Tommy cracks them, they think differently because they don't know how to ride a shot properly. They don't know how to slip a shot. They take everything. And you can see visibly when they've been hit with a good shot, it rattles them to the boots.
Tyron Woodley's got 0 to 60 horsepower like not many other people in the sport of mixed martial arts. Plus, it doesn't take a lot of time for someone like Tyron Woodley to refine a skill set when he's already discarded the majority of the rest of his game. They're going to clinch. I mean, it's going to look like most of Jake Paul's other fights because they crash into each other, they wrap up, they clinch, and then the referee separates them. That 0 to 60 that Tyron Woodley's got could absolutely make a difference in this fight. And no one that Jake Paul's faced before can punch like Tyron Woodley.
No, he's not had Tyron's attributes. That's
not at all.
That's a fact.
VIddal, do you think, because we're talking there about the boxers have been taught solely to box, right? And Jake Paul, albeit is late to the game, but he's trained hard. He's trained with BJ Flores. He's been in good camps.
Yeah.
Do you think he is, despite the fact he's coming from that influencer background, closer to being a boxer than Tyron is?
A boxer, yes. A fighter, no. There's a difference. Do you know what I mean? There's a certain mentality that Woodley will have that's been ingrained in him for years that Jake would have never had to have had. So, as a fighter, he's not going to be more. He's not going to have that same energy. But as a boxer, yeah, you could say he's ahead. He's been doing it full time for a few years now. Tyron hasn't, so he's put more hours in. But there's like a difference between theory and practical. In a way, like Jake's smashed the theory, for example. He's smashing it, he's doing the pad work, he's doing the combinations, but there's certain things as a fighter you can't experience until you've been in there, had a certain amount of rounds, you know, you've been roughed up a little bit, and then you can put those things under your belt. But no matter how much sparring, pads, technique correction that you do, you need to be actually in there with some ring time to know how good you really are. Because you're learning the theory, but it doesn't mean you can do the practical. This is what we need for us to believe. It's a great fight. It's the best fight he could probably pick at this time in his career. And after this fight, if Jake is successful, people have to start giving some proper respect. I already respect what he's doing, but more of the masses will have to agree.
All right, I'll keep it nice and simple. Do we think this event is good for boxing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
How can it not be? Everyone's getting paid. That's what it's about. Everyone's getting paid.
So,
And if
the prize
figures.
fighters, right? All these guys on this card, regardless of their background, they're prize fighters. They want the biggest prize they can get, and this is a big prize. Jake Paul has elevated the cash flow in boxing right now, and there are other boxers, good boxers on the card, like Tommy, like Daniel Dubois, that are going to benefit from this kind of limelight. That's why they're going over to the US to compete. These guys are doing everybody a favor, you know? Guys like Conor McGregor doing everybody a favor because they make noise, you know, they make people interested, they cause friction, they cause a bit of chaos, stealing people's hats and the like. I think everybody benefits from this, and I think we have to recognize that.
And in the traditional boxing world, when you hear the sums of money that Jake's getting, it makes you want to stick up for yourself more. It makes you say, no, come on, if Jake Paul's getting that, I can get something close to that at least. I put my whole life into this sport, you know what I mean? So it makes fighters recognize their worth more as well and what they should be getting. If he can come in and ask for certain amounts of money because of his followers, that's understandable. But there also has to be a balance into who's invested their life into it, and you deserve to get some money for that as well. So he allows fighters to see what can be made.
there's a story behind this, there's a narrative going into it. And I think that's another thing that Jake Paul's really good at, creating a narrative.
It's been cleverly put together. There's obviously clever people behind it. Jake Paul, for what I can see of him, is a very smart, clever individual. He's more of a businessman than a fighter. But like it said before, Marvin Hagler said the same thing. If you're getting out of silk pajamas, you don't want to go on them roads early doors. You don't want to take bangs and punches in the gym, do you? You don't want to shed tears, blood, snot and everything else that goes with it. And the only way you'll see that millions of dollars straight come out of him is when he's in an hard fight. And he's going to think, you know what, I've got a bank full of money, don't need to get butchered like this. But until that day, I'm going to enjoy every minute of it, because I think MMA is growing every day. It's getting more and more viewing figures because the value for money is tremendous. Because the guys, when you see two MMA guys go at it, they kill each other, don't they? That is a rough, tough old job, and there's plenty of stitches at the end of it, isn't they? You know, look at your ears. You know, I've been fighting all my life and not got 2 ears like that. So that just tells you how tough the job is. But you know, we just got to enjoy this ride. They're doing a good job, these people, and you know what? Boxing sometimes needs a leg up, doesn't it? And Jake Paul is that leg up. He's very novice-y. How else can you be with 3 fights behind you? Right. Is he a trier? Yes, he is. Does he give his all when he gets in there? Yes, he does. He makes the best of what he's got, you know. But this Tyron Woodley, you'll know a lot more about Jake Paul come Monday morning.
There we go. All three in agreement there. However, in part 2, we're going to look at Jake Paul's technical skills. And I think there may be some disagreement there. We'll see you in a bit. Welcome back to the debate where we are talking Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. I'm joined by VIddal Riley, Dan Hardy and John Fury, where we are now about to look at some of Jake Paul's previous fights and break down his technical ability. VIddal, I get the feeling you're going to be quite complimentary. John, perhaps otherwise. Either way, let's take a look. We're going to get a few of the highlights up on the screen. So this is the first fight against Denise and Gibb. Talk us through this one, VIddal.
This one hurts me because it's my friend and I'm there. You see me there coaching for this fight. Me and Gibb are good friends, had a game plan. He didn't execute it how we planned to. But what impressed me from Jake was his ability to keep his composure. Because Gibb has done this in other fights against other YouTubers and they've become flustered from the pressure. What I noticed straight away was this guy does not care that you're putting pressure on him. He's looking for the openings and looking for the punches to land. And he done that within the first round, and that's why the fight didn't get out of the first round. But yeah, watching this little PTSD. But he did box really well. And after watching Jake that night, I realized he's taken this YouTube boxing thing to another level. Because what my guy normally does makes him victorious, and it showed today how behind he was compared to Jake on that day, you know. So I give him credit of this performance, finding the openings. John, what are you thinking right now? What do you think of this?
Do you really want to know?
Yeah, I want to know. I want to know. What
listen,
do you think?
It is what it is, isn't it? You got two men from different sports, and like I said earlier about not knowing how to ride a shot. Now Jake Paul, you know, he's just let them go to the best of his ability, you know, because it's not what he does naturally, and he's catching this guy and he's hurting him. And that's what I'm saying. But when they face technical, gifted boxers, it comes straight down the pipe, right on the button. They can't handle it. And I'm sure that kid in MMA performs better than that, doesn't he?
I mean, Robinson just went after him and allowed Jake to do what he does best, which is uncock that right hand. I mean, he's a big lad. He's enthusiastic with his punches. If he throws something with intention, he's going to hurt people. Gibb kept him on the back foot because he was moving unorthodox. He was rolling real low, which didn't allow Jake to just fire off his straight punches. He had to start using uppercuts and hooks. But this is what we see in the next fight against Ben Askren. Askren was there to be hit. I mean, I did a breakdown of it, and I picked Jake Paul to win it because Askren's got that low lead hand. He's just waiting for that shot to come over the top. This is a different fight because Tyron Woodley, he's not as focused on his attack as other fighters would be, and he's not as hittable either. He's got a gas tank which is going to last him 10 big, powerful shots, so he's going to have to be managing that pace. and he's going to be fighting out of a good defense, which is going to force Jake Paul to try and set some shots up. This is where we might see the the limitations in his game, not being able to set punches up.
Everyone that's fought Jake so far, has given it to him on a plate, really. They've come forward, open, allowed him to throw his arms out, and you can almost guarantee he's going to land. If Tyron goes in there and he thinks about what he's doing, gives himself a bit of time to work out what Jake's actually trying to do, it will give us a chance to see if Jake has a boxing brain to work out how to open what's not open. So far, he's been given open doors, he just walked through them. Tyron might be able to...
This was a step down.
This is a step down, and this is a very open door. This door's open for you to walk in, bring all your mates. Tyron, we'll see. I believe he's going to give Jake something more to think about.
He threw that right hand, he's looking at the floor.
Right, and that's what happens when people are running in. You don't have to look where you don't have to look where you're punching.
Wasn't even looking at him.
When someone's running into you, you don't have to look anywhere. Just put your arm
you've got to
out.
watch what you're doing. It's like saying when you're driving a car, don't look where you're going then, isn't it? You're going to run into a lorry and kill yourself.
That's what they've done so far. Tyron hopefully has watched these fights, watched everyone else's performance, and said, you know what, let me hang off and see what you can do.
There we go.
This should have been the step up. Dan, I'll allow you to talk through this one.
It shouldn't have been a step up. I expected nothing less of Ben Askren than this performance. I mean, he's an excellent wrestler. This was a gimme fight for Jake Paul, and he knew that, funky Ben Askren would give him the rise that he wanted and create the atmosphere around the fight.
It's a perfect fight.
My missus can beat Ben Askren.
Oh, honestly, in a boxing match, I don't think many people would struggle against him. But the intention, again, though, Ben Askren wasn't there to fight. He was there to get paid.
Do you know what that's
Tyron
what
Woodley's
does
got
me?
ego
Let's
on
go
the
back
line
to that.
here.
1 minute, stop. I'm not jumping on you, but I've got to say something. That's what annoys me. You get proper MMA kids killing each other, and that gets a fortune.
But a lot of people seem to really disregard weight being a big factor in Jake's success. Because even when he fought Gib had to eat 5-6 meals a day to keep up to the weight Jake wanted. Fighters are not supposed to do that. We're supposed to diet down to a weight that we're athletically best to perform at. And he hasn't fought anyone who's dieted to be at their best athletic performance, as we saw with Ben Askren's physique as well. Tyron Woodley is someone who's actually in shape for this and preparing for this, seeing that previous people didn't take it seriously and got attacked. So I think this is interesting.
And the difference between Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley as well is there's an ego in place, right? Ben Askren wasn't bothered. He wasn't bothered about getting knocked out. He was bothered about the money that landed in his bank account the next day. Tyron Woodley's ego's on the line here, which makes it far more interesting. He's got all of his other things going on. He's got, his record label. He's got his rap game. There's a load of things going on around him. Everything hinges on him having a good performance here, though. Like, if he loses to Jake Paul, a lot of that starts to be impacted.
I've seen better fights in a white collar in Blackpool, Winter Gardens. That's all it is. Let's pick no bones of this. The man is a YouTuber. He's trying his best. I see him trying to look like Floyd Mayweather. Stop it, makes you being silly. So what it is, it's a dressed up job. You know what I mean? They're all fair coat and no knickers, aren't they? And when he gets in with a proper hardcore boxer who wants to do damage, or a hardcore MMA man who wants to do damage, Jake Paul's history.
One thing that is always noteworthy in the build-up to these fights, Jake Paul, very good at the trash talk side of things. Forget what we want about the physical side of things. The mental warfare is a whole other ball game, isn't it? And we're seeing these bets he's trying to have with Tyron. We've seen robots in his press conference and stuff. Do you think that that's a real effective way of trying to get an advantage in a fight, or is it all just for show?
I think it's a really good way of getting an advantage over Tyron. I also think it's a good way of smoking out his confidence, the level of his confidence. Because, and this is maybe the advantage of being 3-0 and having millions and millions of dollars. He can gamble his purse away. He can play games with it. Well, I'll double your purse if you give yours to charity if you win. Or, the whole tattoo thing. He's not bothered about getting a tattoo, but you'll know Tyron Woodley doesn't want Jake Paul tattooed on his body for the rest of his life. I like these psychological games because he's forcing Tyron Woodley to rise to the bait. And if Tyron doesn't, then it makes Tyron look like he's second-guessing himself in there, whether it's money, whether it's tattoos or what. Every time Jake pushes and pokes at Tyron Woodley, if he doesn't give a confident response, like, of course I'm going to win the fight, it diminishes everybody's confidence in Tyron Woodley a little bit, which then makes the fight seem more competitive in the long run.
John, I've been in the Europa Hotel in Belfast while you've shouted in Deontay Wilder's face at a weigh-in. The mind games before a fight, they're important to you, aren't they?
Well, if you play them and you get involved in them,
That's it, yeah.
woe betide you, isn't it? But it just shows you how good of a game Jake Paul's playing when we're here discussing him. You'll only see the true Jake Paul when he's in a 50-50 where he's not meant to win. For my money, he's meant to win this.
Yeah, I
This
agree. It's
Woodley
a close,
fella,
it's competitive, and
But-
it should push him, but he is.
I've
I
spoke
agree,
about
I
him now.
agree.
I've heard about Tyron Woodley for just while we've been here with his massive energy tank and whatnot, and it's all in Jake Paul's favour. So, you'll see the real Jake Paul when he gets in with a proper fighter, but that's not going to be for some time, because let me tell you, if you're on a good trick and it's paying you, look after it, because it's a business. But good luck to them. If they can get some of that rubbing off on them,
Why not?
they've earned it.
Yeah,
and
why
good
not?
luck to them, they've earned it.
Because
Fair
we'll do
play.
it. We'll do it.
We're going to come back in a minute and talk about the world of MMA crossing into boxing. But just while we go to this break, I think Vidal's going to take 4 minutes to listen to John Fury's life advice. We'll see you in a minute.
Listen, I want all of it.
Welcome back to part 3 of the debate, where now we're going to look at the world of MMA and these crossovers that we see into the world of boxing. I think it's fair to say this modern kind of spell of it started with Conor McGregor coming over and facing Floyd Mayweather. And really, Dan, I'm going to come to you. It brings an awful lot of attention to boxing, doesn't it, when they cross over?
It does, absolutely, but you know, it's because there's a narrative there. People are interested. McGregor was a standout individual in the mixed martial arts world that was kind of having his way with the majority of his opponents. He got Floyd Mayweather's attention, same as Logan Paul did, and you know, there's money to be made, and that's what speaks. You know, the money makes the fights, and Mayweather was huge. You know, it was a massive opportunity not only for you know, for boxing to capitalize on the attention, but also for MMA to step into another arena, obviously off the back of Conor McGregor, and you know, shed a bit more light on the sport of MMA, which we did benefit from, definitely.
Everyone wants to be paid, but not everyone's main objective actually is money. Some people want legacy. They want to be recognized as one of the best to do it. And
But if they're coming into this
Right.
sport, is the main objective. Money.
once whoever crosses over, I would say we know they're coming for the money. But also in this case, it is bragging rights. It's pride and bragging rights. It's not just money in this fight. Ben Askren, you can say it's just for money. He made it very clear that it is. Tyron has given us the impression, and I believe him as well, that he wants to shut this guy up. And he wants to prove that if you put years into fighting, you cannot replace that in a couple years with a bit of millions. I'm going to show you what it is to really be a fighter. He's getting paid well as he deserves to. Look at the attention it's getting. Look how much traction is involved in the event. He deserves to get paid what he is. But I honestly think he wants that win.
Yeah.
I think he wants to
sure.
stop Jake in his tracks and say, look, I was the guy that did it.
For sure, and I think that started the night that Jake Paul fought Ben Askren, because I mean, he was in the dressing room, he was watching Jake Paul get his hand wrapped for the fight, there was trash talking, and you've got to think, I mean, you know, we're all honest men around this ring. Tyron Woodley knew that Ben Askren was going in there to get rolled over. He knew he was going to get knocked out. So that must be frustrating for Tyron to be then standing next to this guy that's going in there to get knocked out for a bunch of cash. In Tyron's head, he's standing in the corner going, I could knock him out. I could make the same cash, but I could also enjoy knocking him out. Ben Askren just wasn't bothered about that. That's the most important thing. Of course, Tyron Woodley wants to get paid. That's why he's in this circumstance. But we're all prize fighters. You change the rules, you change the skill sets. You can kick, you can't kick, you can wrestle, you can't wrestle. It doesn't matter. If the money on the table is worth the effort, it's worth the time and the fight. And of course, this has shed a bit of light on the pay across combat sports generally, which I think is good. But everybody needs to learn from this. Boxers, MMA fighters, kickboxers, everybody. Because Jake Paul's making loads and loads of money. And as we all know, he's not nearly as skilled as the majority of other guys in the sport. So what's he doing right?
Personality and character.
That's it, exactly.
That's it.
He's a larger-than-life character, and that sells.
Let's talk about Tyron's character. He's in training camp. I believe Floyd Mayweather's been there as well. What's he like as a character?
I I mean, he's quite stoic. He's quite focused. You know, he steps into training camp and into the octagon always with a chip on his shoulder, like he feels like the world's against him. I mean, that's come out in a lot of his interviews. But, you know, he's also criticised sometimes for kind of hanging back and allowing the fight to come to him. Like, of all the people in sport of mixed martial arts, Tyron can fight, there's no doubt about it. He doesn't have a lust for fighting like some of the other guys in the octagon that we see. You know, some guys that really like put themselves on the line and get after it. He's not a risk taker. You know, he's cautious, he's confident in what he can do, but he won't expend it unnecessarily.
That's why I picked him for Jake Paul. He's not a risk taker.
No, he's not a risk taker. And, you know, with the bigger gloves as well, there are less angles to get through. Jake Paul's most likely not got the ability to set shots up, to remove guard, to find his way through. So I think Tyron's mindset coming into this one is, you know, his calmness and his experience is going to pay off. And, you know, if he doesn't invest in his ego, if he doesn't get drawn into the trash talking and the games, and he doesn't rush across and try and start brawling with Jake Paul, he is the technically better puncher, there's no doubt about it, and he's probably got heavier hands. But there are a lot of ways that Jake Paul can cause him issues.
Thing is, though,
you know, getting into his
you
head.
can have as hard a punch as you want. If you can't, you don't know how to land it, you're in trouble, aren't you? But he has got a way of landing it because Jake Paul is just not that good of a pro. He just hasn't got that ability to say where, you know, you're never going to get it on him. He's too clever. He's too this, that, and he's too slippery.
You can hit him.
He's there to beat Jake Paul. If he shuts his eyes and lands a big bolo shot on Paul, Paul will go over. Because I watched that for 30 seconds and I seen a million flaws in him. You know, and I've watched it time and time again because obviously we're looking for Tommy to fight him. But, you know, can Woodley hit him? Yes, Woodley can. But if Woodley gets drawn into mind games and all this, like,
That's the point. That's the
Jake
thing.
Paul does extremely well because he's a world champion at mind games, this kid.
Jake Paul, of course, he's used to the limelight and the cameras and the attention. But he's only made that walk 3 times.
Yeah.
Like, Tyron's made that walk to defend his
Countless
belt, to win
times.
world title against some of the most vicious fighters on the planet in his weight class. And if he's stepping into the octagon, there are so many more things to think about. Is this guy going to kick me in the head? Is he going to kick me in the body? Is he going to kick me in the leg? Do I have to wrestle this guy? What's his clinch like? How's his ground game? What submissions are best? He's stepping in here with one tunnel vision skill set. Like, if someone says to me, hey, we won't do any grappling today, we'll just do kickboxing, that's a relief. It's like, oh, that's half of the game I don't have to even think about, you know? So he's got so much less to think about going into this one as well. And he also knows, you know, he's got Floyd Mayweather in his corner as well. There's a psychological benefit to there. He just needs to manage himself in this fight. But it's a 50-50, there's no doubt about it.
What's he doing in his corner, Floyd Mayweather? He must be training him,
He's making money,
good
right?
Question, right?
Does he need any more money?
Probably not. But he fought Logan Paul, he didn't need money there either. What's the boxing perspective, though, of like Floyd Mayweather opening the door to someone like Logan Paul?
It doesn't really matter.
Because people are annoyed at him. The kid's a 3-0 professional.
Yeah.
People are not annoyed at him because he's 3-0. They're annoyed at him because he's making loads and loads of money.
Yeah, they want
Well, they don't call him Money Mayweather for nothing, do they?
Do you think that's what he's doing in that camp? Do you think he's actually giving Tyron good knowledge and actually, you know, working him hard in that camp? Or do you think, as John suggests there, he's just there because it's money?
I think Mayweather looks at Tyron Woodley and thinks to himself, this is a good athlete with fight experience that should beat Jake Paul. He wouldn't attach his name to him if he didn't think he was going to win.
Remember, Floyd's a winner. He's a winner. No matter what, we talk about money and everything, he knows how to win, and he's a winner. And he only wants to be associated with those who are going to win.
Instead of him being happy with what he does, millions and millions of dollars, the best in the game, 50-0, you know, why not give a bit back and be sensible to young fighters and bring young fighters through? Instead of it being about you all the time, you know what I'm saying?
Goes where the money is, though, right? He
knows.
That's
what I'm saying.
I mean, we're here talking about 2 guys. One guy making a pro debut, one making his 4th fight professional, and we're here talking about it, making a TV show about it. This is why Floyd Mayweather's involved in this.
Yeah, and we're just talking. Look how many times we just said Floyd Mayweather. Yeah. This is exactly it.
That's it.
This is what you do, and now, he's not on the screen there. He's not going to come in this room here, but we've given him some sound bites now to
with the knowledge of the boxing world he's got, he can bring more world champions to boxing than probably anybody else. But that's not about him, you see, it's about other people. You know, and I don't get that. Because I do believe if it was possible, Floyd Mayweather would be running for presidency. You know, because he's that kind of guy, you know what I'm saying? Enough's never enough for him. Woodley has got to wrap his hands up round his head, get up close and use his own attributes. Get up close and just let him go. Forget about what's coming his way, sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? Because Jake Paul,
that would be exciting.
I can't lie. You know,
that would be very exciting
Jake Paul
to see.
has not got the accuracy or the skill set to really upset anything like that, you know. So if he comes out the block straight away, hands up high, bobbing and weaving, letting big hooks go, and he catches Jake, he'll put Jake off his game plan. But all Jake's going to do, if he can do it, is run in the ring, tie him up when he comes in, lean all over him, hit him with the odd jab, and let Woodley burn himself out.
I can picture that.
You know what I'm saying? That's what's going to happen here. But for my money, throw the kitchen sink at him.
This is a new experience for Woodley in that it's a pro boxing match, but also it's not a comfort zone. It is a huge, huge event that people from all kinds of different sports are watching, and he's got this new pressure on him. Do you think his personality type will be able to deal with the magnitude of the event?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you would think so because of, I mean, you know, you're walking out to face Robbie Lawler for the world title in the UFC. Like, you've got to have your mind right, for sure. But then at the same time, you know, I think the pressure that
I've never been to a UFC. What's the crowd capacity at UFC?
About 20,000-30,000.
Oh, so it's a big enough crowd.
Big
So yeah, he's not going to be...
No, he won't be rattled by the experience of the
good
crowd, but what he might be rattled with is the pressure that's on his shoulders to A, represent MMA, and B, to represent all the people that want Jake Paul getting knocked out, which is a massive amount of people. He's very polarizing.
It's the stuff going on around
you don't want to be
around the ring, right?
This is, and you know how Jake is. It's all about the reaction video he can make on his channel the next day, what meme he can make of you, what TikTok he can make of you, what Snapchat he can make it. Literally, this is what he's out to do.
Yeah, he's a content creator.
Yeah, he's a content creator.
He's using his business brain all the time.
I don't want to be your content. I don't want to become a key piece of your content. Right? That's what it boils down to.
What's more damage in the 21st century, to get memed or maimed? I mean, really? You know?
You don't, listen, getting knocked out, you got in the ring, everyone can talk whatever they want to talk, but you're a warrior, you got in there, that happened, cool. It's not the same anymore. Everyone wants to talk about it, everyone wants to know, millions, everyone wants to retweet.
And you know something, it can be as good as you like, you only remember your last performance.
Yeah.
For sure.
And if it's a bad one,
and for someone who's a Hall of Famer, Tyron Woodley, legendary fighter, MMA, that can all be tainted like dramatically if he becomes a meme after this fight. This is hard to look at. It's hard to look at him and say, "Oh, you're a Hall of Famer," but that's the clip.
I've seen it so many times, you know. I've walked into the dressing room and they're about to go on, and I know they've lost it in the dressing room. It's gone. It's all gone. Yeah. And when they walk into that room, they can't think. They don't take instructions. Everything's all over the place. They've literally crumbled. And I've seen it in the dressing room of professional fighters. You know,
there's one safety net for MMA fighters, and I think we saw this coming out of Conor quite a bit before the Mayweather fight. And I think it's the perspective of Tyron Woodley coming into this knowing full well that in a boxing match this is competitive, in a fight it's not.
No.
You know what I mean? So like there's a bit of forgiveness in the back of Tyron's mind, because most people watching will know if this actually turned into a fight, gloves came off.
Oh, yeah.
Paul's not lasting around.
The thing is with this as well, look at the two people on there. You got Jake Paul here. I've never seen no like this kid, to be honest with you. He don't look like a fighter. He just looks like a college boy that's on a bad night out, you know what I'm saying? The other one looks like a fighting man. So the pressure's on him because he looks more apart.
Yeah, true.
And he thinks, hang on, if this college boy whoops me, I'm going to lose all my friends. Well, I could say what I'm thinking, but I won't because it's television. But you can grasp what I'm saying. The pressure's on Woodley here. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, the pressure's
definitely on
Woodley.
Because if I was fighting him, I thought, I can't lose to this man.
We believe Woodley can do him some damage, right? Jake believes and his camp believes that they can damage Woodley, but on a general basis, if you have any background on Tyron Woodley, type in the highlights, you're gonna go, oof, this guy's gonna kill him. That's your first thought. And he does have to deal with the pressure of that. But at one stage, he was the best in the world. And you live with that pressure every day when you're the best in the world, because everyone's chasing you. So he's lived with that, and he defended successfully multiple times with that pressure. So I think he'll be all right. I don't think the pressure will get to him. If he loses, he loses, but I don't think it'll be because of the pressure.
All right, while we talk about memed or maimed, stick around, because in the next part of the show, we are doing predictions, and we are also hearing from Jake Paul himself about that potential fight with Tommy Fury. See you in a bit. Welcome back to the final part of the debate, and now it is crunch time. Fellas, I'm going to get the predictions, and I want specifics. I want round, I want method, and obviously I want winner. Dan, I'm going to come to you first.
I'm going to surprise people here, and I'm probably going to let the MMA world down, but I actually think Jake Paul's going to do it. And I'll tell you why. It's because my concern of Tyron Woodley's gas tank. This is 8 rounds. He's going in there against the guy that's had 3 pro fights. Of course, you know, he's not been fighting them world beaters. But this is Tyron coming towards the end of his competitive career and stepping in there with ego, with anger, against a young kid that's got some experience and has all the belief in the world, you know? And one thing I will say about Jake Paul, if he walked into a gym, grappling, Thai boxing, mixed martial arts, boxing, whatever, he's a big, strong, athletic kid. You know, he's going to be problems for most people. And I think a big, strong, athletic kid tying Tyron Woodley up and exhausting him, I take Jake Paul by decision, unanimous.
All right, VIddal.
So I'm gonna go with Jake. The reason why I'm gonna go with Jake is because of the activity. Tyron hasn't been very active. If he was more active, I would have went with Tyron. But you can't replace being active. You know, you need to be in there and working and feeling the punches and in the training camps. Jake has been doing that consistently. So I will go with Jake winning by 4th round stoppage. If it goes the distance, Woodley will win. I think Woodley would have won the fight if it goes that far. So I'd say round 4 KO for Jake.
Okay.
All right.
I think his output's going to be too low for a decision. That's where I think Jake Paul comes into this one. He just basically builds up the points on the scorecards, keeps himself safe, and wears Woodley out. Anytime it closes, you're going to tie him up, wear him out, let the referee get involved. I think he's going to be really smart about this, like he has been in the press conference, poking at him, testing his confidence, gut checking him.
All right, two wins for Jake there, 1 by stoppage, 1 by decision. John?
It all depends on Woodley's trainers. I don't know that much about Woodley. The business side of things, the way it's all been set up, you've got to lean towards Jake Paul, because Jake Paul's people would not risk Jake Paul. Like these chaps have just said, he's coming to the end of his career. You know, it might be his last hurrah, you know, and is he there to make Jake Paul look good? I think he is.
Method?
Method, I've got to agree with this young man. I think he gets him out of there. Round about 4 or 5. In between 4 and 6, like he's just said. He knows the game, he knows his man. If he's not up to it, could be sooner.
Dan, that's the MMA guy there is taking a 3-0 loss.
Yeah.
Is the MMA world reeling at that defeat?
No, I don't think so. I think like we know what we're getting with Tyron Woodley. If it's a fight, Tyron Woodley wrecks him. There's no doubt about it. There's no question.
Woodley a game plan.
But that's the thing. See, I don't think Woodley's the athlete that can do that.
John's in his corner
I think
now.
that's the right thing to do psychologically, strategy-wise. I think that's the right thing to do. I just don't think Woodley can do it. Like, towards the end of his career, we've seen him kind of hanging back. We've seen him waiting for the fight to come to him. And Paul will bring it.
He'll bring it.
At the right level. He's not going to overextend himself and get caught with something.
What?
I feel like Woodley's going to chin check him for sure. I think we're going to see
I think we're going to see some adversity in there.
Yeah.
We're going to see a little bit of adversity before the 4th round finish in Jake's favour. Jake's going to get hit. Might have to go back to the corner. Okay, I just got hit properly. First time. Settle into it. He'll clock him and get him
I
out
know
of
Jake Paul, his character, the way he is. If he takes an hard shot, you'll see a different Jake Paul. He'll go in a shell, that kid. Listen, he's got a puncher's chance, hasn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
That's it.
An
educated
What
puncher's
did I
chance.
say earlier? People tune into boxing, what to see?
Unexpected.
The unexpected.
Yeah.
We won't write him off, but we've got, us experienced people, we have to lean to the Jake Paul job, with the business side of it. He's the star of the show, and this, that, and the other guy's there to build
It
him
would
up.
be a marketing nightmare
Oh,
if Tyron Woodley wins.
absolutely.
Come on, we know this. Who's Tyron going to fight next? Who are we going to line him up for next? Logan? Come on. The avenues, it closes if Tyron wins. Showtime, BT, all of us, we all here. We want to see Jake progress. We want to see him. We'll get to that, what we're going to talk about next. All of that is scrapped if he loses to Tyron Woodley.
In that ring there, you need nuts. Good or bad, you need them. And you know, Ben Askren didn't have them, did he? Let's be honest about it. He's looking for the floor the minute he got in there.
He didn't put him on the table in the first place because he was there
Yeah,
for
listen.
that check, right?
Do you know what? I can't even talk about men like him, because to be honest, it's a disgrace to the sport, isn't it?
Well, let's get to the next segment quickly before everyone starts getting insulted.
Give those men with no nuts at all any credibility on national TV. Ben Askren is what he is. He's a bill filler. He's there to do a job, make another man look good, pay him his money and get rid of him. That's the only That's the only respect he deserves, none.
But Dow, I almost offered you my job there when you seamlessly teed us up.
Yeah,
for
no,
Tommy
I saw
Fury
it in your
stuff.
eye, man. I was
But
trying
then
to
it
help
all
you
went
out.
wrong. It all went wrong. It all went wrong.
Truth.
All three predicted a Jake Paul win there. The next opponent obviously has to come into question. And we spoke to Jake Paul just last week about that potential next opponent. And I'm going to stand just a little bit further
You
away
might wanna
from
get
John
out.
You
while
might
we
wanna
listen
get out of
to
the
him
ring.
talking about it. You've obviously got a man over there, Tommy Fury, who you've had a number of exchanges with on social media. You both kind of had this strange entrance to the sport. You both already had this platform. You both come from families with famous brothers. You've both got all these sort of similarities as well. There is the potential there for an enormous fight that must really excite you. And I know you can't look ahead of either Tommy's fight or yours, but you must be so excited about what could happen there.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's why I wanted him on the undercard. You know, I have to go out there August 29th, prove myself, and he has to go out there on August 29th and prove himself. And if the stars align, that's a massive fight that I think we both want. I think we both think we're better than each other. And it's two legendary families, legendary, brothers, and it's, US versus UK. There's so much to it that makes it crazy. We're both like the same age, both came from a different world. So it's interesting, man. And definitely see it happening. I'm going to win. It just whether or not he's going to win on August 29th. And if he's actually going to sign the deal, his team has been a little bit like shaky, even coming over to the US and fighting on the undercard. So, I think he might be second guessing whether or not he actually wants to smoke with me.
John, you're laughing. I feel like you're not having the last part of that.
Listen, I could actually like that kid because at 22-year-old he's showing fantastic mindset on business brain, calculated words. You don't see him in kids at 22 today, do you? So you know what? I do like that kid. I really do. But can he beat Tommy? Definitely not. And what I see in him, behind his words of bravado, is fear and nothing but fear because he knows what's going to happen to him.
Do you think he's misunderstood as well the entrance of Tommy to the sport? Tommy has a platform because of something that happened after he was in boxing. Jake has a platform and then got boxing. Do you think he's misunderstood
The difference
that?
between the two men is Tommy's been fighting in the gym since he's been 8, 9 years old. He's actually bought him his first pair of gloves when he was 4. And I done nothing else but mess up and down on the bags, train them running. And he's been round champions of the world for almost his whole adult life. He's seen what it takes to be a champion. And Tommy has earned his stripes as an amateur boxer in them rings sparring with seasoned pros, 10 and 15 and 0 pros. He was sparring a man called Tom Aspinall. You've all heard of him, haven't you? A big 6'4" guy, top of the tree in his job. Well, we was there right at the beginning of Aspinall's career, and Tom used to spar 6 rounds with him at 16 years old. He'd probably give 5 inches of height away and about 4 stone. And Tommy was there batting with him. So I know what's inside of Tommy. And this guy here, as much as I like him, he wouldn't be able to live in the same environment as what I've seen Tommy live in over the last 6 or 7 years of his life.
Do you think Tommy coming through his fight on the 29th, Jake coming through his fight on the 29th, do you think he'll still be mentioning Tommy's name, or do you think he'll try and move on to somewhere else? Do you think he'll worry about
These
it?
people will feed off one another for a long time, because whether they're going to fight straight away, it wouldn't be good business sense. Let the people get used to the build-up, let them get used to seeing the names out there. And the longer this is out there before the action, the better it will be. It's like a bowl of soup. Leave it for a bit, it tastes better. And that's what these will do. They'll live off one another. Tommy would fight him tomorrow. He'd fight him on the same bill. He'd fight on the 29th and put him in it as well, because that's what he does for a living.
Is Tommy sat there now wanting this fight immediately?
He'd
there
have
a
it,
part
but
of you
I
having
say
to
no.
hold him
I
back?
say let it build up. It's about the money side of it. It's about business and this, that, and the other. And what you do, you enjoy the ride. And this is a spectacular ride, isn't it? Because it's only going to ever happen once in a lifetime with these people. And they're both going to make more money as novices than current world champions have made. It's ridiculous the amount of money these two guys are going to generate. When they fight, there's only one winner, Tommy by count out, because it's ridiculous to even compare the two together.
So if with him being a good businessman, is there a risk in Tommy looking too good at the same night?
Well,
Definitely.
I mean, is that something
I
on
have
your
said
mind?
that.
Of course,
I have said
yeah,
that,
that
you
could
know, 'cause,
happen.
you know, not being too. I've said to Tommy, if you go out and KO this kid straight away, he's going to be fearful of you. He knows now he can't beat Tommy. It's ridiculous for even thinking he can. A world champion's younger brother. The rounds he's sparring lately with a WBC lineal heavyweight champion of the world, the best it's ever been of his era. And Tommy's there doing 20 rounds with him to the body. He can't do that. He knows he can't.
He's already selling future fights, isn't he? We saw the hit list that he put up on social media. You saw names like Nate and Nick Diaz, Conor McGregor,
Canelo.
Usman, Canelo, Gervonta Davis.
Yeah.
Names like that. Who do you
Ridiculous.
guys want to see him take on in the future? Other than Tommy,
I
of
want to
course.
see the Tommy fight.
I want to see. I want to see the Tommy fight. I'd like to see the Canelo fight for different reasons.
What reasons? There's no reasons. Money.
Because he's late for the bus, that's why.
Yeah, I'd have to be very bored to tears to watch Canelo and Jake Paul.
No,
You know, 'cause I'd phone
it would
Canelo
be-
up and say, you know what, pal, like Mayweather, behave yourself.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think the Diaz brothers are the ones that make the most sense.
Ooh, that's
I mean, you know,
nice.
Usman's under contract, McGregor's going to be under contract for a long time. Of course, we've got Nick fighting soon. Nate's, you know, always in the wings, trash talking with people.
wanna
Of
see
all the names on that list, the most winnable fight for him is Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
Because he's slow, he's easy to hit. You know, he's got a lot of scar tissue. That's the one that makes the most sense. We'll see what Nick looks like when he faces Robbie
He'll
Lawler.
win that one. As we said, this guy's smart. He knows if I put his name down, he'll probably say something. He'll probably tweet me back. He'll probably say this. And everyone just does it. And I'm like, why did you guys do that? Like, you know why he wrote your name. He wrote your name to get something out of you. And you gave
Listen,
him exactly what he
Tommy,
wants. I'm like,
my
guys,
son
like,
Tommy, he probably ain't going to like what I'm going to say, but we're fans of him. Tyson loves Jake Paul, I do, you know. Tough on Tommy, but I tell him the truth. You know what, Tom, I like that kid.
All right, guys, I think we can see that the interest is there. Whatever you want to say about this fight, it's got people talking. Sunday, the 29th of August, BT Sport box office, Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. John Fury, his biggest fan there, he'll be watching, and I'm sure you will be too. Thank you very much.